question time. Well, me and Tippy, of course. But that doesn't matter because today is the grand finale of our special guest segment. We've got really important people coming in to our shows for the past 3 weeks. You've seen some really cool people coming along, knowing all the stuff. And today, last but not least, Police Inspector Paul Cruz is on the show. So we've sent in some questions for him and he's going to answer them. So basically here they are. First thing, my question, what is your job? What even is it? What does the police inspector do?
So I'm Paul Cruz, I'm the inspector in charge of the Stroud and Dursley neighbourhood policing team. I've taken over the job just over the summer, so I'm still quite new to the role. But the role of the neighbourhood team is really to focus on local issues and see what solutions we can find to resolve them. A lot of police officers on our local policing team, for example, are very much reactive. You know, they are tied to their radios, they listen to the incidents as and when they come in and they'll respond to them, and then the next incident will come in and they'll go to that. From a neighbourhood policing perspective, what we're able to do is we have a bit more freedom. We can get out there, we can do proactive patrols in various areas, we can engage with the communities and listen to what those key issues are that are affecting those communities. So say, for example, it might be antisocial behaviour in a park. From a neighbourhood policing team, once we identify that there's antisocial behaviour taking place, we can proactively go out to those areas, we can see who's causing the issues, we can engage with them, we can find out what it is that they're doing, we can explain to them the fact that their behaviour is having a negative impact on the communities. And we can work with our partner agencies, so say, for example, the Door Project. We can basically identify solutions. So it could be that young people are gathering in a park because they've got nothing else to do. We can find projects for them to get involved in, find clubs and societies for them to join, and we work with them in order to deter them away from that behaviour that's been causing issues within the communities. So it's a fantastic job to be given the opportunity to work with the neighbourhood team and be a little bit more proactive in the way we police. It's been a gift.
That's great, thank you for answering my question. So brings us on to our next question. How do I get into police work? Not me specifically, maybe me specifically.
It's changed slightly over the last year in that we now are looking to have police officers who have degrees. Now, for some people, the prospect of going to university, whether it's because of the cost implication or because of the time that it might take, it's not a viable option. But one thing we offer within the police is they call it the apprenticeship scheme, whereby you would join the police in the usual way. You know, you'd have your A-levels, and we would then put you on a training course which incorporated a degree within that process. Traditionally, you'd serve a probationary period as a new police officer, and that would last 2 years. With the degree scheme, that would bring it out to 3 years, but you'd come out of those 3 years as a fully trained police officer with a degree in policing. More importantly than that, I think it's the preparation that you would do beforehand. So as you can imagine, you know, the police is quite a sought after job. There's a lot of people that are keen to join the police, so it's quite a robust application process, and one of the key things that people need to take into account is that experience that they have prior to joining the police. So some strong candidates will have done work experience in various different kind of areas. So customer service based work experience is really good experience because you're dealing with members of the public day in day out, you know, angry people, helping people, supporting people. So the customer service provides a really good means of gathering that evidence. Also voluntary work and just generally carrying out work that you can evidence your ability to work with people, to support people, to deal with conflict. There are various things that you can do to assist with that. The constabulary offers a ride-along scheme. Now, the ride-along scheme is a really good opportunity for people who aren't in the police, who are, I think it's 18 years of age, and what they can do is they can apply to join the ride-along scheme via the constabulary website. They fill in the form. At some point they'll be sent a date to attend their local police station, and what they'll do is they'll basically jump into a police vehicle with 2 trained response officers, and you'll spend the shift shadowing those officers. So if they go to a 999 call, you'll be in the back of the car, you'll experience what they have to deal with. You see policing firsthand, so it gives you a really good impression as to what we do, and from that you can decide whether it's the career for you. They're starting to develop a work experience programme, so again, that's another really good way of seeing what's involved in policing, and not just the frontline policing, but also different departments. So it's not all police constables and whatnot. We have a lot of police staff working for us in the force control room, where all the 999 calls come in and all the dispatch work takes place. So the work experience gives a really good overview of what the constabulary has to offer. But what I would say is, you know, if there are people out there that are really interested in the police, police and want to talk about a potential future within the police, then if you've got a local beat officer covering your neighbourhood or your community, then make contact with them. Alternatively, I'd more than happy give anyone advice as to how to join the police.
That's really great, really interesting, and kind of inspiring me to maybe get into police work. Can you imagine me as a police person? Okay, and our next question, there's a video sent in from Hannah, and she asks,
hello, my name's Hannah. How are the police coping with doing their normal jobs to now coping with the new COVID-19 rules?
COVID has brought an extra demand to the constabulary and indeed constabularies around the country. I think that goes without saying. As a constabulary, it has changed the way we work. We try to separate some of our teams out so that if one person within the organisation goes down with COVID, it doesn't have that knock-on effect that would ultimately lead to an entire response team being wiped out. So we've taken some proactive activities internally so that hopefully we will remain completely deployable and operational throughout the pandemic, and that it doesn't have that impact within the organisation. Externally, again, there's additional demands that have been put onto us. We're getting a lot of reports from members of the public saying that they're seeing social gatherings taking place, that there's parties going on in people's houses and so on and so forth. And it's really important that demand doesn't take us away from the demand that's always been there, that responding to burglaries, to robberies, to road traffic accidents and so on and so forth. So it's really important that we manage to maintain business as usual, but deal with the extra demand as well. So what we've put in place is we've put in some additional officers who work across the county, and their sole purpose really is to respond to those concerns by members of the public that someone's breaching COVID regulations. The approach that they'll be taking is engaging, speaking to them and encourage them to comply with COVID regulations. If there's a group of them together, to encourage them to disperse and break into smaller groups so that they're not breaching those regulations. And as a very last resort, again, it's going down that enforcement route. So the way the organisation's coping is very well. We've been very, very quick to make sure that all our processes, both internally and externally, are in place to ensure that we maintain the level of staffing that we need to deliver the service to the public, but also that we have people in place to be able to respond to our day-to-day business, but also take on the extra demand that COVID presents.
Thank you for sending in your question, Hannah, and thank you, Paul, for answering it. And our final question, we get asked this a lot, there's a lot of conversations around this. Are the police actually enforcing the lockdown rules? La lockdown. I sound like the garlic.
So the police take the restrictions that have been put in place with regards to COVID-19 very, very seriously. And we have to do that because there's a lot of vulnerable people out there who, if they were to catch COVID, it could have serious implications on their well-being. So it's really important that as a community we pull together and we comply with the lockdown measures as they've been issued. From a policing perspective, we understand that people are going about their day-to-day business. They're trying to live their lives, and what we're not looking to do is just persecute. Go out there and just blanket fine everyone within that we see walking around. So the approach we're taking is that we'll engage with people, we'll explain why the COVID measures are in place, what the expectations are of them to comply with them, why they need to comply with them, and basically try and get people to come on side, understand what the COVID restrictions are in place for, and hopefully work alongside us and cooperate and act appropriately. The only time we'll be enforcing COVID measures, so issuing fines, worst case scenario if the conditions are right, arresting people and so on and so forth. The only time we'll be doing that is when people fail to comply, when we've had that conversation with them, when we've explained all the rationale as to why they should be complying. If they refuse point blank, then it leaves us with little choice but to take that more kind of punitive action, if you like. But like I say, that's a real worst case scenario. A lot of the time, when we speak to people and we explain why we need them to comply with the COVID regulations, the majority of people are understanding and they do so. So it's very rare that we have to go down the enforcement route, but it is an option available to us. And a good example is there was quite a large gathering in one of the parks in Stroud, and police again went in with the request that people disperse, that people comply with the COVID regulations. And in several occasions over the weekend there was people that failed to comply, and again it left us with little choice but to take that more punitive action and go down the enforcement route. So we are taking COVID very seriously. We see enforcement as a real last resort, but it is an option that we will take if the circumstances dictate.
Thank you so much for coming on the show, Paul. Thank you for answering all of our questions. Remember, if you guys want to ask us a question, then you can send it in. Feel free to DM us on Instagram, leave some comments under this video. Ask us a question, we can answer it next week. In next Wednesday's video, you're going to see me and a very special guest do some TikTok dances. Try to do some TikTok dances. Oh, I'm literally so bad at TikTok dances. Next Wednesday, make sure you got your notifications on and you're subscribed to the door so you can see the video when it comes out. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you, Paul, for coming on, finishing off our special guest series. Let us know what kind of videos you guys want to see, what kind of questions you want us to answer. I know all the things. This is Dippy the Dinosaur. Thanks for watching. See you on Wednesday. Bye!